Good evening. It's 7 o'clock, and we have two meetings scheduled for 7. The first one is going to be the Cunningham Township Board meeting, and that will be followed by the regular meeting of the Urbana City Council. I'd like to call the meeting of the town board to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons, Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Jacobson,
Here.
Mr. Madigan, Ms. Marlin,
Here.
Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Mr. Smythe, Mayor Pressing.
Here. The first item is public participation. I don't have any little forms that are filled out to speak to the township. Is there anyone who would like to address Cunningham Township? Okay. If you want to get your form up to the clerk, we'll call on you when the city council meeting starts. Okay, we'll move on. The minutes of the previous meeting, November 7th, 2016.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Brown, seconded by Ammons. Any additions or corrections? Michelle?
On the minutes that were emailed to us, it had Charlie voting yes on the levy when in fact he voted no, so I don't know if that got changed or not on the final minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we should change that to a no vote. Was that the only no vote?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, is that agreeable with the motion maker
Yes,
and
it
the
is.
second?
Yes.
Okay. Any other additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor of the amended minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Okay, we have the committee to verify bills, the town fund of $60,000 and the general assistance fund of $17,000. Michelle?
Town fund bills for December that include November interim. Town fund is $60,325.87. General assistance fund is $17,610.70.
Any questions for Michelle? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ammons, seconded by Jacobson. Any discussion?
No.
Did you want to say something? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Reports of officers. No report. Okay, unfinished business. We have ordinance number T 2016-11-003, an ordinance regulating the reimbursement of all travel, meal, and lodging expenses of officers and employees in Cunningham Township, Champaign County, Illinois. Michelle?
It was recommended to remove number 4, A and B out of section 3, and that was done.
Charlie?
Yeah, there was one other request in here, which was to somehow account for situations where lodging would be such that it would exceed the GSA recommendation. But you know, sometimes when you try to go to a hotel further away, you end up spending more on transportation, that sort of thing. So how exactly does the...
If you look at section 4, that would fall under where then the board would approve the expenses that exceed the GSA amount.
Okay, so would that have to be done in advance of travel?
We usually know what the hotel rate is before anybody leaves out of town.
Okay,
Because
so-
they reserve the rooms ahead of time.
Okay.
So if it's more than that, then the board would approve it, but it hasn't happened in my 20 years there, so.
Okay. Okay, so we have a way to handle it.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jacobson, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries. Under new business, we have the 2017 Cunningham Town Board meeting schedule.
That was emailed to everybody. The January meeting that would normally be on the 2nd has been scheduled for the 9th because of the New Year's Day holiday, and then same with the September meeting. The 4th is Labor Day, so it was switched to the 5th.
Okay.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Smythe, seconded by Roberts. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Revision of the township tax levy. I sent out a memo to people, just putting it in the context of how we want to lower the general tax rate. Did you want to talk about it, Charlie? That was your issue?
Yeah. First, Michelle, thank you for sending various numbers so we could look at things. And so in looking at the audit that was concluded in for June 30th of this year, it shows that we have roughly $800,000 carryover in the town fund, which is about a year's worth of expenses, which is a good thing. But in general assistance, we have about 1.6 million, and these are after removing the Carl Presence amounts that are reserved. We have about 1.6 million in that, but we spend roughly 600 to 1.2 million there. So, based on our current spending, it's probably a rather large amount. So I'm suggesting a one-time decrease of 2.5 cents on the levy that would save us $135,000 from the general assistance as a one-time thing, so that's a suggestion.
Michelle?
In those amounts, Charlie, is also $591,000 of money that we receive in May and June for the next fiscal year. So the money that is there is not, it's there, but it is, when people pay their property taxes early, the county is on top of it and sends everybody, all the taxing districts, their distribution portion. So there's $591,000 that we received in May and June of this year for the next fiscal year, which is the one that we are now currently in. So when you say that there is $800,000 in the town fund and 1.6 in GA, if you take out those property tax payments that are for the next fiscal year, it's actually $454 in the town fund and 1.4 in GA.
Eric?
So in interests of full disclosure, I was requested to be the second person to put this on the agenda, and I did that because I'm easy that way. I think always there should be a chance to talk about stuff. But going into this discussion, I'm inclined to oppose this, and I'm inclined to oppose it for a couple of reasons. One is, although there are few ways that money can legitimately be transferred between city and township budgets, one way is social service spending. And one of the things that I think we ought to have the option to do, maybe we won't decide to do this, but if we moved the city's portion of our social service grant funding to the township, that would pay for a police officer and a little bit more. And there seems to be a feeling that we ought to be moving in that direction. I do appreciate that this is being proposed for 1 year only, and that the increment that's going to hit us most likely for healthcare costs may not hit in this fiscal year, nevertheless, we are facing that, and we don't know how big that's going to be because the healthcare economy is subject to some really major changes. So for those two reasons, I mean, look, I would like a bit of a reduction in my property tax bill as much as anybody else. But for the reasons of the, imminent and unpredictably large healthcare costs that we may be subject to, because of the potential flexibility in freeing up social service grant costs to pay for another police officer, I do not believe that it would be prudent to reduce the levy at this time.
Michelle.
The other thing that I would like to remind everybody is the levy that was approved last month is for the budget for fiscal year 17-18. So if parts of the Affordable Care Act are repealed any time from January to June 30th when our fiscal year ends, we will be paying that out of this fiscal year's budget. And that is why some money was left in the medical line item when we did the budget last year for this fiscal year that we're in. So in the 17-18 fiscal year, which is what the levy is for, I am sure we will have medical expenses by then with all of the articles that I have read and that have been sent to me. It's either going to all be repealed or major parts of it. And no matter what, we have to provide medical for our clients.
Eric.
I knew I had a third reason that I was forgetting. So the third reason, oh my gosh, I'm getting so old that I'm forgetting it again. The third reason had to do with rental assistance. So we realized and we budgeted for this past year a need for rental assistance, but somehow that program didn't get off the ground. We're going to hear, I'm pretty sure, in our city council meeting from one of our grantees that there is a major unmet need for low-income rental assistance in Urbana. And I want to allow for resuming that function of the township government. So until we assess the magnitude of that need, and Michelle, I was going to suggest that, after tonight, that you get together with the folks whom we're going to be talking to later today, and between you, perhaps figure out how, what's the right way for Urbana to meet that need. But I think the need's not being met now, and I think it is within the province of the township.
Charlie.
Yeah, well, my my removal of 135,000 was based on the idea that there wouldn't be medical costs this year, and leaving about 208 in the budget, 208,000 in the budget for GA, which is about what we spent last year. And so if we levy for that amount, I figure it's covered. We have, however you do the math, we have 1.4 million in carryover in the general assistance fund. It's a substantial amount, even with health care coming. And so I really think that's an amount probably 400,000 more than should be there. If you double the general assistance to around $1 million, we probably should have $1 million in that as carryover. Now, if in fact Eric wants to do what he wants to do in terms of moving social services and all that, then we need to figure out a way to move general fund or general assistance money to the town fund to accomplish that and beef up the town fund side of things. And that would be an appropriate thing, and it's something I could support. there is a mechanism for doing that. It can only be done via a special town meeting called by the electors in some fashion to do that, and that may only be doable at the annual meeting. So that's something that if you really are serious about and oppose reducing the levy one time in general assistance, then we need to go that route and really figure out how to move money out of general assistance and use it for the programs that you want to use it for.
Okay.
All right, so do we have a motion here? Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay, we have next the closed and open sessions to consider pending litigation. Mr. Grosser?
We do not need a closed session. I have several items of information for you by way of letting you know where things stand. At last month's meeting, the next thing that was to occur was the filing of the appellees' briefs. The appellants are the state and Carl. The other side are called appellees. That's the county, township, and city. Our briefs were due November 23rd. The brief for the city and the township was filed November 22nd. The state's attorney filed a brief for the county on November 23rd, so those are all timely. We expected somebody would try to submit another amicus brief, which is basically done by lobbyists, and there indeed was an amicus brief submitted by a group of 3 lobbyists. The first one, the Illinois Association of School Boards, and we filed an objection to that. The Supreme Court Clerk's Office rejected the filing of that amicus brief for the reason that it didn't meet the requirements, and they informed the attorneys what was wrong with it so they could fix it. They fixed it and submitted it again by email. The clerk of the court rejected it, pointed out that you can't submit briefs by email. You can send them through the court's electronic filing system, which is what most people do now. You can mail it, or you can walk in the door with it. So they mailed it last Wednesday. Should have arrived, since it's coming from Cook County, should have arrived by Friday. We had to submit our objection again, and right now we're waiting to find out if they accept for filing the amicus brief. If they do, then the court will rule on whether or not it will be allowed. I have been informed that the court considers cases ready for the oral argument calendar when the appellee's brief is filed, without regard to when the reply briefs are filed. The appellants get 2 weeks to file a reply brief replying to what the state's attorney and I submitted. Both the state and Carl have requested to have that extended to a total of 6 weeks. The court may do that. Nobody's objected to it because it won't serve to delay the scheduling of oral argument, since cases are now considered ready for oral argument. I have also been informed that it is possible that they will make the January calendar. I don't know how many cases are ahead of it, so I don't know if we'll make the January calendar or the March calendar. They have oral argument 5 months of the year. That's odd-numbered months except for July. So it's January, and then March would be the next month. At this point in time, we're waiting to be informed of the date, and when I know that, I'll let you know. Once there is oral argument, I don't know how long it will take the court to rule. I can tell you I've seen cases, including cases with constitutional issues, where they were able to issue a decision in 5 or 10 days, and a lot of cases where they didn't. When timing is important, they push it ahead and move it along. I think timing is important on this, but there are certainly some things where timing is more important. But in any event, all I can tell you is it's possible that it will be on for January, but I don't know until they schedule it.
Okay, any questions for Fred? Thank you very much. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.